The fight card for Misfits X Series 5 was just released. Since this is not a pay-per-view event and you can watch it free if you have a DAZN subscription, there isn't going to be any mega fights this time around. No KSI, no Slim anymore since he's become a major player in Misfits boxing now, etc. Think of these intermediate events as the Misfits version of UFC Fight Nights. They are meant to build new fighters and get them to the point where they can face off against the best in their respective division. Although they were initially slept on when announced, Misfits 2 and 3 were both great events, and there were some banger fights on those cards. Walid vs Deen, Hasim Rahman Jr. vs Greg Hardy, and Slim vs Ryan Taylor were fantastic fights, and if you had DAZN, you didn't have to pay a cent to experience them. With that being said, let's go over the Misfits 5 card and review the matchups. First of all, what is up with the design of this poster? Tempo Arts and Godson look so out of place on a fight poster here. I get that these guys are both first-time Misfits boxers, but I beg Misfits to organize a professional photo shoot for not only Tempo Arts and Godson, but for all the fighters on their roster. If Misfits are true to their word, want to build these people up and make them fight on the regular, then I think it's wise to capture some high-quality photos to use moving forward. As for the fight itself, I don't know what to expect at all. I've never heard of Tempo Arts or Godson, I apologize for that. Tempo Arts has apparently fought before on Kingpin and won his match. Going off his last fight, Tempo tends to swing for the fences and doesn't mind getting tagged to then throw punches right back. I hope that both guys provide the entertainment factor and have a good showing in the ring to make fans want to see them return. In his fight against JMX, Ginty proved that he had a solid chin on him, and even though he got dropped early, he came back and even scored a knockdown of his own. I think Ginty gained a lot of admiration after the fight, and I think he's definitely the favourite against Halal Ham. The latter is a bit of an OG in the YouTube boxing space, appearing on one of the first ever cards. He recently fought against DTG, and holy fuck, he just windmills. I think Ginty will land the jab, keep him at range, and win via decision. I'm not really looking forward to this matchup, but who knows, Ginty vs Halal Ham could surprise me. I'm not holding my breath though. Astrid Wet vs AJ Bunker is the only women's fight on the card, and whoever can remain calm and apply very basic boxing ability will win, just like what happened in the Astrid Wet Keeley fight. AJ does have a win under her belts, but this isn't the fight we really want to see, especially because AJ has lost against Elle Brook. I'm sure we'll get the Elle Brook Astrid Wet matchup on one of the pay-per-view events, and this fight is just leading up to that. I am a bit confused on why this AJ vs Astrid fight is for a Misfits belt. The title should remain vacant until Elle Brook vs Astrid Wet in my opinion. I don't understand why the next two fights are being made at all, and they seem like complete mismatches. We have Walid Sharks vs NNA Productions and Deen the Great vs Pully Arif. After the fantastic Walid vs Deen fight on Misfits number 3 and the controversial stoppage that took place, everyone has been waiting for the rematch. But no, Walid and Deen are instead fighting two people that just aren't in the same league as them. NNA Productions and Pully should be fighting each other, and then Walid and Deen can have their rematch on this card. Then the winner of NNA vs Pully takes on the Misfits champion at lightweight later down the line. Whether that be Walid or Deen, it would be determined in their rematch. But no, we have a relatively unknown influencer in Pully fighting the champ of the lightweight division in his first Misfits fight. I know that lightweight is an extremely shallow division in Misfits, but I feel like the matchmaking is off here. Build Pully and NNA Productions up by pitting them against each other, and the winner takes on the lightweight champ. It's as simple as that. I hope Misfits can change this, because I think the two fights as they are will leave a bad taste in people's mouths. And come on, how cool would it be to have the Walid Deen rematch on this card? I know that they're probably saving it for a pay-per-view event in the future, but you at least have to have some compelling fights on these free DAZN cards. Otherwise, they will just seem like filler and not be worth watching. This next fight is all about giving Kenny another highlight finish. Ashley almost got finished by Anthony Taylor, who I believe is going to be fighting in a new Pro Misfits league, so that's why Anthony Taylor vs King Kenny isn't happening. Anyway, Ashley got dropped very quickly and lost via decision, so they're now feeding him to Kenny. Okay. This matchup doesn't get me very hyped, but I hope that Ashley has been training ever since his last fight and they put on a good show. The main event is Jay Swingler versus Nichlmao. Apparently the latter has like 20 million subscribers, which is insane, but ultimately this fight is again about building up a fighter by giving him easier fights. No offense, Nick. They're doing it with Kenny and Jay on the same fucking card. I expect Jay to win pretty decisively, like how he knocked out Churdley's in Misfits 2. I feel like a better matchup for Jay on this card would have been Swarms. Think about it. Swarms didn't get touched in his last fight against Ryan Taylor, so he doesn't need time to recover. Swarms has had plenty of training at this point preparing for the last event, and this fight would be a good test for the both of them. Swarms is still relatively fresh on the scene, he isn't a big player yet like King Kenny, Gibb or Slim, but he does have the capability of beating Jay. It's a solid matchup for both fighters that isn't too dangerous, but will also answer questions we have about both fighters. Whoever wins, their stock rises, far more than if Jay beats this Nick guy, for example. The fight makes sense for other reasons as well. Both of them are from the UK, both have lost to a top 5 YouTube boxer, both have come back and won via knockouts. Anyway, besides my fantasy matchmaking, I do hope that Nick comes out and puts on a good performance, I really do. Overall, this card feels lackluster compared to the previous 4, and I feel like with my small tweaks, it could be a lot better. That being said, Misfits is still in very early days, so I'm sure that as the stable of fighters grows, we'll get more quality matchups.